Hi, I'm Tim DeBellis, and I want to welcome you to another episode of Sonoma County Connections. This series is all about highlighting incredible individuals and businesses that are shaping the landscape and the lifestyle here in Sonoma County. Today, I'm excited to welcome Mario Tamo, Managing Partner at Shook and Waller Construction. Shook and Waller have been building beautiful homes in our area for over 40 years. They have a long-standing reputation for designing and constructing homes that not only reflect the natural beauty of our area, but also push the boundaries of luxury living. Mario, thanks for joining me today. I'm excited to have you here.
Thank you very much for having me. It's a privilege. Thank you.
Yeah, one of the things I always like to do is to just jump right in and have my guests share a little bit about their personal journey. So why don't we do that? How did you come to Sonoma County? How did you find your way into construction? And ultimately, how did your path lead you to Shook and Waller?
Yeah, that's a good question. The first question, how did I come to be in Sonoma County? Is I was born here. So I didn't I didn't come here. I was born here, third generation Sonoma Countyan, and I actually grew up 2 or 3 parcels over from where we're sat now. I was an athlete in high school. I played basketball, which is sort of important to the Shook and Waller story. I'll come back to it. I was good enough to hang with the best players in the area, but definitely not good enough to take the next step into the collegiate realm. And so had fun doing that, and I was coached by an individual named Ed Waller and his son Randy Waller, who is a mutual acquaintance of ours, and went to college, Cal Poly San Luis Obispo. Had a great time there. Came back to Sonoma County, and I had a job lined up in San Francisco. I had called Randy because I had kept in touch with him and told him, "Hey, I got a good job in San Francisco," and I expected him to say, "Great, cool," And but instead he said, "Hey, why don't you just come to my office on Monday?" And I said, well, for a job? He said, "Yeah, just I want you to do what you want to do. If you have a job in San Francisco, do it, but just come to my office." And I said, "Well, what am I going to be doing?" And he said, I don't know yet. Just come to my office." And so I came to his office, and I haven't left since, basically.
And how many years ago was that?
That was in 2011.
Okay.
And so from there on, Randy and I and his longtime partner, who's still our partner, Tony Shira, started doing construction projects for ourselves. We would raise the money and buy a parcel or buy a home, and some of them were large parcels. One of them was 40 acres with a large ranch-style home on it that was falling down, and we would dream up the architecture ourselves, and we would bootstrap the design process, get the permits, and hire a construction crew. Sometimes it was 2 or 3 construction crews or one, and we'd be the boots on the ground, and we'd finish the project. And so I cut my teeth, I think is the correct term, with sort of high risk, fun construction spec projects. And so that had led me down the path of construction, and Ed Waller, and Steve Shook. Ed is the founder, and so is Steve, of Shook and Waller. Been in business for 40 years. Like I said, Ed coached me in high school, and he and I have had a great rapport, and it came to the point in Ed and Steve's career where they wanted to be still quite involved with Shook and Waller, but not necessarily managing the day-to-day aspects of the company, which managing day-to-day aspects of the company is fun and challenging, but sometimes it's not that fun. And so they wanted to take a step back and be still highly involved, but more on a consultant basis, and use their 40 years of construction experience to help the company move along. And I was tapped to be the managing partner of the company. Shook and Waller is a well-oiled machine, and I get to manage that now, and it's a privilege, and it's very, very fun for me to do.
Yeah, well, that's an incredible story. And I love that sort of journey of just kind of not really knowing what you were going to do. Sort of going down this path, and all of a sudden this path just sort of revealing itself to you and leading you to the point that you are now. And that's why I love this series, because it's not just about a business or an individual, but it's that story, because that's the real key, I think. It's the story behind all of this that really kind of resonates with people.
Yeah, and my gratitude for being involved with Shook and Waller at all, let alone a managing partner or involved in any aspect, comes from, I know the history of the company. I know it. And in 2008, which many viewers, and I'm sure you will remember how horrible that was for construction and
Yes.
for just the overall economy. There were construction companies, general contractors that had been alive for a long time that were just closing, shutting their doors. And at that time, Shook and Waller, Ed and Steve huddled up with their entire company and rode it through. And they did that at their own expense. It was not a profitable endeavor, and they had to put their own resources up to keep the company operating and to keep everybody employed and to keep loyal employees to support their family. And it was very bleak for many years. And we have pulled out of it now, and those same employees, all the way from foreman, superintendents, foreman, all the way up to project managers, CFO, all the way up to the top, have a tremendous amount of loyalty and respect for that, and they remember that.
Yeah.
And now I get to come in, and my job is easy. There are incredible professionals that work at Shook and Waller, and I get to now manage them and sort of influence the direction of the company moving forward, and it's very, very fun, and I'm super gracious for it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think what's really a testament to Shook and Waller is the longevity. So as you mentioned, they've been in business for over 40 years. Now that you're there, you see sort of the inside workings, you're sort of managing the operations. What would you say is key to that longevity and that continued success here in Sonoma County?
It has a lot to do with a little bit what I just said about the loyalty and the respect that the employees have for the company. There's no turnover. And construction is actually an industry where there is substantial turnover in construction. People come and go and sort of float around, but it's not the case at this company. People want to be there, and sort of a 30,000-foot perspective of your question, what's made it successful for the long run is a testament to Ed and Steve. They started the company 40 years ago, and everybody there is still loyal to them to this day. Everybody saw what they did and how they operate, and that's the only reason I even became involved to begin with, was because I trust the people involved. I know who they are, and I know their character, and that sort of permeates through the company, and it's kept the glue there. And the people that work there are incredible professionals. I now get the luxury of, I'm not sure of a lot of things in life, but when I sit down with a client and they are considering Shook and Waller as a general contractor, I am sure that their project will run incredibly well. We will guide them properly, and the professionals, project managers, all the way down to the laborer, are professionals and incredibly good at what they do. And so I'm able to come in. I'm not typically a salesperson that kind of beats their chest about anything really, but I do with that because I know that we will come through, and that's a luxury that I get to have. Walking in being so sure that we're going to do a good job.
Absolutely. Well, and I can speak from direct experience, working with you, working with Shook and Waller, and referring you to my clients. And much like you said, I will only refer businesses and people to my clients if I know the quality of work that they do, the professionalism that they demonstrate, and knowing that project is going to make it through on time and on budget.
Yeah, I mean, everybody has the story about the contractor, right? Everybody does. A bad one. I hired this, this contractor didn't show up, the subs aren't showing up, the timeline is terrible, I can't get a hold of anybody, and all that. And so everybody has one of those stories, and I know for a fact that doesn't happen with us, and I can say that right out the gate to a client. So
yeah.
It makes my job easy.
Excellent. Yeah. Well, I think all of that really kind of speaks to the incredible foundation that's been built over the last 40 years. Mm-hmm. And so you now at the helm of this. So let's switch gears a little bit and sort of start looking a little bit forward. Mm-hmm. I work with a lot of luxury buyers and sellers. And the thing that's most important to them is not just a home being a place to live, but really kind of a lifestyle statement. Mm-hmm. They're looking for custom features, modern amenities, designs that really align with their needs, their lifestyle, and their aspirations. Mm-hmm. So as you're in the field now, as you're managing these new projects and everything, what are you seeing as those design features, those requirements that luxury homeowners are asking for today?
It's a great question. And it's it's been interesting to see that evolve. So, for a while there, I would say a few decades ago, it was, home floor plans were pretty compartmentalized. People, like to live in their own space, and then we moved into the term that everybody knows about, open floor plan, right? Where it was, clients wanted a very large open space with almost all blended into one: kitchen, great room, hallways, kind of all coming into one area, and it went a little overboard sometimes. It was almost like a big, huge barn, almost, which is interesting, but can be cool, but what we're seeing now is sort of a reversion back to maybe 50% of the compartmentalized version, where people actually do want a defined space for certain ways that they live. We're seeing clients wanting a defined space for their kitchen, maybe even, mostly even actually with a lower ceiling height, for their kitchen, a little bit more intimate space that's sort of warded off, that does spill out into an open room of some kind. Sure. And the open room is typically large vaulted ceilings, big, doors that open, and lots of natural light. And then, the office has sort of made a comeback. We are sitting in one right now, almost like a den in an office space that sort of is sectioned off from the main area. And then, obviously the bedrooms have always been sectioned off, but we're seeing a reversion a little bit back to some compartmentalized spaces that are designed for people to, come back to and get away necessarily from the giant open space.
Right. I think obviously COVID had an impact in that. I think it influenced this desire to have more of those separated spaces, places where individuals could go and sort of retreat, have their own privacy, and not be continuously influenced by just one large common area. Right. So those are things that I'm hearing from my clients as well. Mm-hmm. Another thing that's really been at the forefront of, this trend is this indoor-outdoor living. Obviously, here in Sonoma County, we're very fortunate that we get to take advantage of the incredible weather, and we can live outside pretty much most of the year. Mm-hmm. So that is another feature that I think is something that is really taking center stage and a lot of new designs. Can you talk a little bit about that and kind of what you're hearing from your clients and what they're looking for in that indoor-outdoor living experience?
Yeah, most people want that, certainly, and it's going back to what I had said before about a property that we acquired personally to build and sell on spec, which was that 40-acre parcel that I mentioned. It was in Calistoga, and we actually came up with a design that was almost an interior right angle, and then a A-frame that came off of that. And the outside of that A-frame, we installed screens that came down. And the inside of the A-frame was pull-away doors. So if you can picture it, it allowed you to basically have an outdoor room with screens coming down that sort of defined the space again, and eliminated bugs and other things. But it was not conditioned space; it was outdoor space. And so that. We took photos of that and listed the property and sold it, and those photos actually became pretty integral to almost everything that we're seeing now. Is a client will see those on our website, and will want them incorporated into their house. And so the indoor outdoor living is still very, very big, and but people also want they want inexpensive square footage. Which is what that is. There's no kitchen, bathrooms, and it's not conditioned. It's just basically a patio with a coverage over it, and the ability to sort of screen it in. Yeah. So we're doing that a lot in a lot of our designs.
So I want to explore some of those things that you were talking about in terms of these new design elements that luxury homeowners are asking for. I see a lot of dual islands in kitchens now. Can you talk a little bit about this, as well as the ceiling height?
Yeah, so this kitchen is actually a great example of what I was talking about. So, you have your great room over this way, but the kitchen itself is sort of warded off from the area, and it has a much lower ceiling height. It feels more intimate, it feels more sectional, if you will. Two islands are very popular nowadays. Large stone spaces where you can spread out and have a bar on this side, which is what this has. And then, one more thing that is interesting is light fixtures like these. I'm not a tall guy, and this is low even for me. And so it's more speaks to the intimacy of the space. Lower ceilings, not so cavernous, right. And being able to be in here and just feel like it's a little more intimate than it would be with a big perch ceiling like that.
Right. Yeah. Well, I think the beauty of the dual islands, which I love, is that you've got one that's purely functional, and one where you can still be entertaining and interacting with your family or your guests while the work is still going on.
So I think that's a really nice feature.
Yep, and often the microwaves are located in their own spot, so that obviously they're not sitting on the counter and tend to be in the islands, is what we're seeing. Even the dishwasher sometimes is in the island. So it's interesting.
Let's walk out to the great room, because I think, again, that lends to what you were saying. While we have the intimate defined space of the kitchen, it's not necessarily all integrated in one, but yet it easily flows into this common great room space.
Right. So again, this is not high. This beam that comes across here that kind of lends into the kitchen space, but then obviously it gets very, very big and open when you get into the great room. And then the great room is often where you see, sometimes in the master suite and other areas, but the great room is often where you see the indoor outdoor, and where the wall, the doors that expand, and the really the indoor outdoor living element.
I see a lot of homes, and I have to say that I think this space right here is one of the largest openings that I have ever seen. Do you remember what the span of this is?
I don't remember off the top of the head what the span is, but this is not a small span. I mean, this is a very large steel member that goes up here that allows you to do this engineering wise. It's a structural engineer certainly must comment on an opening like this, just to make sure at the time there's no sagging, there's no warping at all, or anything that way. So.
Well, this opening right here, I mean, really sets the tone for that indoor-outdoor living. The fact that the doors pocket into the wall gives you no visual sort of disruption between the interior and the exterior of the home.
No, and this is also what I was talking about the sort of the inexpensive, non-conditioned space is, you have probably, I don't know what that is, 15 by 30 maybe. That's a substantial amount of square footage that is not conditioned and is fairly inexpensive to build. Meaning, it's just a patio cover is all this is, with some heaters up there. And so
I think the heaters in the ceiling are another feature that I'm finding in more higher end homes.
Yep.
Because it does allow you, even in the winter months, it does allow you to sit outside and not be uncomfortable.
This particular home does not have it, but most of the homes that we're doing like this do have integrated screens that will drop down. So on this side and all the way out there. And so you can picture those screens dropping down and the heaters on. And again, this is an additional hundreds of square feet that you have, at your disposal.
Right. And I think just this space alone incorporates living. You look over here, you've got the outdoor kitchen area, dining, and of course, the pool. I mean, who doesn't want that?
Yeah, that's one of the more spectacular pools that we've done, and very, very cool.
Yeah. You touched on what does it cost, price per square foot, to build a custom home, and as you and I have discussed, it varies and it can vary widely. But if you had to synthesize that question down, what would be the key factors that are the primary drivers of price, and also what are the key factors that influence the time frame to construct a new custom home?
In reverse order, to your question on the time frame, that part speaks to where we can guide the client. So, in order to have a well-oiled machine of a project that goes to timeline and gets done as quickly and as efficiently as possible, you have to have many decisions made, preferably all decisions made, but that's not realistic, but almost all decisions made prior to the shovel entering the ground, and also having a start date. Like we have a full set of engineered plans with a permit, and the weather is as such in the year where we're going to break ground on this day. And if those two things are in place, the project will go well and on time and quickly. Where the timeline can go awry is obviously weather can impact it, but it mostly goes awry with changes in client preferences, which is fine. The client, it's their house, and they can do what they want to do. But if something as simple as changing a window location is actually not simple at all. It goes down to plans, permitting, Title 24 requirements, insulation requirements, which is a Title 24 requirement. But so it's not something like that is not a small change, and sometimes it's perceived as such. So, so the timeline will be affected that way. As far as the cost, that's always one that makes me smile, because it's a perfectly legitimate question. If I was a client and I had no history in construction whatsoever, maybe my first question to the very first GC would be, what do you think it's going to cost? What's the cost per square foot? That question is just so complicated. But it comes down to two things: the sticks and bricks, sort of the foundation and the structure of the home, and that's easy. That's the same, almost always. Everything other than that, though, is where it changes. And then like things like properties like this, where it's a beautiful setting and some acreage and such, landscaping often gets folded into the cost per square foot, which doesn't make sense at all, because that doesn't have anything to do with the square footage of the home. Right. So I would say, long story short, the finishes and materials are what's going to drive your cost, and the finishes and materials can double easily the price of the project. Yeah. And so we often guide in that direction to pick finishes that are cost effective and still popular and marketable for people. Mm-hmm. And then we oftentimes love to get involved early with an architect, so we can look at the design. And architects don't like it when you want to change things around, right. which is totally understandable. But sometimes we can pick something out where we can say, hey, if we can just do this a little bit differently, it'll save a significant amount of money. And clients often appreciate that. And architects are often totally okay with looking at modifications in that way. So I know that's a long answer to your question, but I think it's finishes and selections are what really drive.
No, I think that is the right response, because those are the things that are the most variable. Yep. In a new construction project. And I have my own experience working with builders and clients in new construction, and you kind of, as a client, I think, and certainly you can expand on this, but I think a client starts with a vision. Obviously, that turns into a set of plans, which are really basically just two-dimensional renderings of what this home is supposed to look like. And I think it's difficult for people to visualize what an actual completed home will look like from a set of two-dimensional plans. And so as you get into the construction, and when they start to see how these things are coming together in a three-dimensional way, a spatial way, I think, is that the point where you start to see maybe some questions or some changes in how the home is actually going to be finished and built?
Yes. That's often the time where we get into, when it's visible and you can walk through it. There are almost always changes to be made, and which is totally okay. We're ready, and we're totally adaptable to making changes that would benefit the client. But we are upfront and say, certainly you can make that change, but that's a back into the plan check change, versus a on the fly kind of inspector approval change, which can happen also.
Right. And so here's the impact of the time of that change, and here's the impact of the cost of that change.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
This has been really, really insightful. Your experience, your knowledge about construction, the construction process has been invaluable. And I want to thank you for taking the time today to talk with me and really just kind of share your story, share the story of Shook and Waller, and how they have been a true sort of standard, I would say, in this region for over 40 years. And I think well positioned to maintain that quality of construction and that incredible reputation for 40 years now into the future, especially with you at the helm.
It'll be many years in the future, and I'm very, very gracious and happy to be where I'm at. And again, my job is easy. Yeah. With this company, and it's gonna exist for many years.
So listen, if people want to hear more about Shook and Waller, learn more about Shook and Waller, maybe they're contemplating a remodel or a new construction project, how can they get in touch with you?
I would go to shookandwaller.com, and the visual component of our company is impactful. There's many projects on there that we've done, many different types of projects, including TI commercial work, which we do a lot of, and obviously residential work and multifamily work, so I would have them start there, and there's plenty of ways to get in touch with us via the website. And while they're on the website, obviously they can look around and see what we do.
Yeah. Well, again, thanks for your time. I really appreciate it, and I love this conversation because it's so personal to me, and I know that we talk all the time. So I just want to thank you again for taking the time and being here and talking with me today.
Thank you very much. Happy to do it. Thank you.
Okay.
All right.
I want to thank you for joining me on this wonderful journey today. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to like and subscribe to my channel to stay updated on all the incredible stories and people that are shaping our Sonoma County community. We've got more exciting interviews lined up that I can't wait to share with you, so stay tuned. I'll see you later.